of Premiere Pro and how to use the basic functionality within the program, the software. This won't be a full-scale tutorial, so you'll still need to Google and find out more in-depth details of how to use the software, but this should give you a good head start and help you to know the basics so you're not overwhelmed when you get into more advanced tutorials on YouTube or as you look for things on Google. So to get started, we're going to open up Premiere Pro. You should have downloaded this. It costs $20 a month for students, or if you want to use it in the library, it's free at the HBLL. To start out, what we're going to do is create a new project here. We're going to browse, so we can browse to find where we want to save this. I'm going to go to the desktop. I'm going to create a new folder called My Project. You can call it whatever you'd like. And then I'm going to do a new folder inside there called Edit Files. Now I'm going to choose this place where I want to save it. I would always keep my my project saved within its own folder with all of the media that will keep with the project. And I'll show you how I have this set up for a client that I did not too long ago. And I'll show you how we set up and organized his file format for his project. So we're going to title this My Project. You can keep all these settings the same as default. You don't need to change any of them. Click OK. This brings up our editing page. Now you have your timeline here. This is where you do your editing. You have your program. This is where you see what you edit. We have our effect controls. This is where we see if we have a clip in our timeline, we can see all of the effects that are applied to it. We can see any settings we want to change. We can see the length. Basically, any of the settings for the media in our edit we want to change in the effect controls tab. And then we have our project pane here, which we see all the media, the audio, any of the source files that we're going to use for our edit. So to start out, we want to add some files here. We want to add some footage, some audio, some graphics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a bin for footage, and I'm going to select list view here so it's easier to see. If you were to select this and create a new bin, it will create a bin inside this folder. That's why you don't see it. But drop down, you'll see a new bin. So what you want to do is select, if you have this selected, select out of it, and then create a new bin, audio, new bin, graphics. And I would include my text or any pictures. I would probably include those within my graphics, anything I create myself that I want to overlay on my video. So now we're going to go ahead and add in some footage, some audio, and graphics. I'm going to open my Finder. I'm going to find on my desktop. I'm probably going to use some source files from a previous project I did. Okay, I'm going to add in, I won't add in a logo. Let's add in some footage here. This is a bunch of stock footage that we got that we used for this project. See, there's a ton. Let's do, oh yeah, this is a good one, some kayakers. So we can drag and drop this into footage. See how it shows there? And then we're going to get a graphic. So let's go here to our app. Let's get this black iPhone graphic. And then audio. Let's see. Let's just use this song here. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to change this graphic really quick so I can clear it. And then I'm going to put in, I think a better one would be, yeah, we'll use this reviews screen recording. Okay, so there's a graphic. Now, in order to get an edit started, we need to create what's called a sequence. Our sequence is where we do our editing. It's where the editing is stored. So this is the timeline window, and our timeline window will hold the sequence where we're editing. So to create a sequence, we're going to take our footage. You're going to click on this box at the left, drag and drop to this new item icon. And that's going to create a sequence that's in the same resolution as this video. So if you wanted to make a video in 1080p HD, you would want to be sure that you had a piece of footage that was filmed in 1080p HD, and you would create a new sequence out of that footage. This footage is 4K, so if I were to put a 1080p video into this sequence, the video would show up about half the size as this 4K footage. And so what I could do, let's see if I can find some 1080p real quick. I can show you an example of this. Desktop, I'm not sure. Let me find a really small file. You know what? This one is probably, I think this one's 1080p. Let's try it. It might be 4K. Okay, I'm going to move this in. Woman using a laptop. Click over it. I hope that one's 4K as well. Okay, but if it were to be 1080p, what would happen is this footage would basically look like this. Right? Because 4K footage is much bigger than 1080p. So if you had a 1080p piece of footage and you put it on top of a 4K piece in a 4K sequence, it's going to be a lot smaller. And if this were the case, what I would do is I would click on my footage, right click, and then I would click, let's see here, scale to frame size. So if I click that, then what it'll do is it'll make this video, as long as it's 1080p, it's not doing it right now because it's not 1080p, but if it were 1080p, I would select it, set to scale to frame size, and that would scale it to the size of the frame of my sequence. So it would basically expand the video and make it fill the whole screen. I'm going to delete this. We don't need it. Real quick, let me go over a few of the tools that we're going to use as we edit. So this is the select tool. I'm going to include a package of all the keyboard shortcuts that I use, and you can install them on your computer to make your editing flow really, really quick and a lot easier. So I tap letter A for select. I tap letter B for blade tool. Really, your select tool and your blade tool are going to be the tools you use most during editing. I don't think I need to go through any of the others. You'll probably use the text tool a little bit. We'll go through that in a bit. But A is for select, B is for blade. A and B. You'll switch between those a lot. So I'm going to stay in my select tool. I'm going to go to the beginning here. I think I want to add a fade in and a fade out to this footage. So I'm going to go to my effects here in the project pane. I'm going to go to video transitions, dissolve, and you can search any of these as well. So cross dissolve, I'm going to drag and drop that into the front, drag and drop this into the back. Now I have a fade in and a fade out. You can look at that, fade in, super nice, and then I can fade out. There we go. I'm on my laptop, so it takes a little bit of time for my computer to process the footage since it's so high resolution. But that's your example of a fade in and then a fade out. Okay, now this here, you can change the playback resolution of your footage. So since it's in 4K, I was like, okay, I want to play it back in a quarter of the resolution. If I were to try playing it back in full 4K, my laptop, it would be very, very glitchy, more stuttery than it is now, which would be very hard to edit with. It's just manageable now with 4K footage, but see how it still doesn't scrub like butter. If I was on my desktop, which has more RAM, then it would scrub very smoothly. So that's the benefit of having more RAM, better graphics card. It makes your editing a lot faster, a lot better editing workflow. So we have our fade in and fade out. Let's go ahead and add a graphic on top. So we're going to go to my project, the project pane, take our graphic here, move it in. Now I don't want this to cover up the whole video. I probably would never even put this on top of this kind of video, but I'm just showing it as an example. We're also going to move the sequence we created. This is the sequence icon. This is the footage icon. So you'll notice here that this footage has audio and this footage is just footage. I'm going to delete this footage. And we're just going to use the kayak, and I'm going to move the sequence. I'm going to create a new bin called sequences, and then move this to sequences so we're more organized. I'm going to close all these tabs. Now we have our graphic on top. I don't want this graphic to just jump in. I don't think that looks very good. So I'm going to add a fade in to our graphic. Actually, better yet, I already showed you how to do fade in. I'm going to show you how to change the opacity. So when you're moving around footage, if you were to copy and paste this piece of footage, say I wanted to copy and paste it up here for some reason. If I were to Command Control C, copy, Command Control V, Command or Control V, right, is for paste. See how it pastes it on this first line? I don't want it to paste there because it overrides what I already have. I'm going to do Command Z to undo, Control Z undoes. I'm going to go up to this video 2 right here. I'm going to select it. I'm going to unselect video 1, visual 1, and then I'm going to paste it again. And see how it pastes on this new track? Whatever track you have selected here is where it's going to paste. It's the same for audio. If you want to paste audio just on audio track 2, you're going to only select audio track 2. Now, what I can do is I can delete this, move this over. Normally what I would have done is I would just move this track up here, just drag and drop it. Very simple, like so, right? But I just wanted to show you that for the sake of how to copy and paste, because a lot of people, they'll try to paste and they'll be like, oh, it's overwriting my footage every time. Well, you have to change this box here. This will select where you paste, so don't forget that. The audio, we're going to go into audio here, select our audio, drag and drop it in. We're going to go to this top layer here. Now, to get to the fun stuff. So I think I'm going to have reviews start towards the middle of my footage. That looks about right. And then I want to have, right now you'll see that my reviews don't even show because the footage is on top. It's loading. Here we go. So this is what it's showing currently, the kayakers. I don't see any of this footage below. But let's say for some reason I want to see this footage. What I would do is I would click here and I would say, okay, I want your opacity to drop when you get to this point. So I am going to create a keyframe. A keyframe allows you to change an effect of a piece of footage over time, over single keyframes. So I click this clock icon, opacity, and then see here, this is a keyframe. My opacity is currently 100%. That's great. I want that. I'm going to move over. Let's go to 8:15. 8 seconds. 8 seconds, 15 milliseconds. And I am going to now create a new keyframe, which I click this button right here. Once this is toggled, you don't need to click it again. This just says keyframes are turned on. If you turn this off, all your keyframes will be deleted. This is how you create keyframes. So now my new keyframe is created. It's still at 100%, so it's not going to change anything. I want to go to 50%. Now, see what it did here? This footage is now 50% opacity, which allows me to see the layer beneath it. Okay? Now I don't want it to be like that forever, so I'm going to say, okay, let's have it be 50% opacity till we get to 10 seconds, 20 milliseconds. Now I'm going to change, I'm going to add a new keyframe. I'm going to change this back to 100% opacity, and we are not going to see the reviews anymore. Now what this looks like is I'm going to click here, and I'm going to show you what this keyframe does. So let's start it. I'm starting this using the space key. So if I push spacebar, opacity changes. Now it goes away. So it's looking like it, in the viewer's point of view, it looks like this review just fades in, right? But really what's happening is this footage goes from 100% opacity to 50% opacity, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, and then it goes back to 100% opacity right here. And so it looks like this is fading out when really this is just fading back in. So that's a really handy effect. Keyframes you can use on any of these settings. I would Google if you want to find out more advanced. You can create your own transitions. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so now that we have our graphic in here, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to use the blade tool, push B, cut here, click this, delete, because I don't need to see the end of this. End of this graphic, I don't want to have it. I just want this to go clean to black. And there we go. Now I want this music to end on this end beat. So I'm going to go blade, click, keeping the blade tool. I want to take out all this. So I just did I clicked here to blade. I tapped A to go to select. I select this, delete. Now I can click here and push delete, and it'll move this over. Or what I can do is I can simply click and drag. Okay? It'll drag to wherever your time head is. But we're going to move this, and we're going to drag it just to the edge of this here. Now I want this to dissolve out with the end of the music. So I'm going to blade here, and I would do this more professionally if it was for a client, right? I would make sure the music matched. I would change, I can keyframe the audio. See, you can keyframe the level of the audio. I had keyframe the audio to match this audio. So I had, if it was really loud here, I would say, okay, stay loud here, but then I want you to go softer. And then I would have this be underneath this, like so. As this goes softer, this comes in. And so you can make really clean audio transitions. I honestly use GarageBand for all my audio editing, or not GarageBand, sorry, I use Premiere Pro for all my audio editing because it's just, I edit so much video that it's really easy for me to edit audio now. And you can honestly do both really well through Premiere Pro. So now, my audio is going to go, I just did blade and then select, which is A. I'm in a spacebar. Audio fades out, and awesome. Okay. Next, we are going to add some quick text, and then we should be just about finished. So I'm going to go ahead, I just want to add a simple text above here when the reviews come in, a little bit after the reviews. Let's do text. Click here, it's going to put it on top. Thank you. And I'm going to say, my project is bomb. Okay, so we can move this around the project panel, wherever you want to place it. Again, my computer's a little laggy because it doesn't have the best RAM, and this is a very high resolution footage. Click here. I want to fade in, I want to fade out of this text. So I'm going to go to my effects. I'm going to go to cross dissolve, drag and drop it in. It's too long of a cross dissolve. I'm going to shorten it. I just clicked and dragged the cross dissolve to shorten it. You know what? I think I want to have the same length cross dissolve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this cross dissolve, Command or Control C, or you can go to Edit, Copy, and I'm going to click the edge, Command or Control V, or Edit, Paste. But you have to be clicking here to paste it at the edge. So you got to click the edge and then paste. I always use Command or Control V because it's quicker. Now we see that our text is going to fade in. Great. Fades out. See, it's a little glitchy. It's okay. It won't be like that if you export it. Alrighty. Now, always remember to save your project. Command or Control S will save it. There have been so many times where I have not saved it, and luckily Premiere Pro autosaves in a separate file, but it's hard to find your saves a lot of the time, so make sure you're saving on a regular basis. Just a simple Command S or Control S will save. You can save as many times as you want. Just save for fun. Okay, anything else here? I don't think so. I'm going to go ahead and show you an example of, oh, there actually is one more thing I want to show you, the transform functionality. And I want you to Google this to find out more about it. But what I want to do here is if you wanted to overlay a video on top of this and have it be small, so you wanted to have a little video here at the corner. Well, how would you do that? You would take your footage. So I'm just going to copy this reviews movie here, reviews footage. I'm going to select V4. Actually, you know what? I think I would like to select V5. So I'm going to select V5. See how I move that up just to create a new track, a new layer. Select V5. And then say I wanted this to be a picture of myself talking the whole time. I would go Command V because I already copied the reviews. I don't want this to take up the whole space. I'm going to double click the project pane. That'll pull up these transform arrows. You can also click on the footage and then click motion here, and it'll do the same thing. Now I'm going to move this. Automatically, it's in uniform scale. So if I move it, it's going to scale it uniformly on each side. See, like this. If I wanted to undo uniform scale and say I wanted to crop it a little bit, I do like this, then it'll scale it. This won't crop. This will just distort the image. So I wouldn't usually use that. I would always do a uniform scale. And then if you wanted to crop it, I would go here to effects. I would search crop, take crop, apply crop. You can either drag and drop it in effect controls, or you can drag and drop it on top of your footage. I would drag it on top of your footage so you remember where you're putting it. And then I would say, okay, I want to crop. See, it pulls up these little corners. Crop this here, crop this here. And then I click on motion again to move it around. Okay, now I have this. I want to move it down here. All right, now if you wanted to have your own picture here, you could be talking in the bottom right of your screen. Say you wanted to explain your product and you wanted to talk and you wanted your customer, your potential customer, to see you talking as you explain the product. You could easily put a picture here. You could make it a little more opaque. So say I wanted to make this opacity 50%. I could do that so then they can still see behind your face. I'd probably go 75, or sorry, 25. So many things you can do. And then that is going to go for the range of this clip, and then it's going to end right here because that doesn't go any further. I'd probably fade that in as well, so copy this, paste it there, make sure it's really clean, see how it fades in. Awesome. All right, so very simple. That should be it for getting you on your feet for editing. I didn't go through everything in Premiere Pro. There is a lot that you can do in this program. You can do color correction. You can do audio distort. You can add filters. You can add. There's a lot you can do. You can add in what's called color mats, which let you add in just blank frames of color. Actually, I'll show you how to do that real fast because that's important for you to know. If you ever wanted to fade into a white screen or into a red screen, you would go new item here. So you just click this. Remember we drag and dropped for this to create a sequence. You just click it and then you go color mat and you want to go the size of the sequence. Looks like this footage was actually 1920 by 1080. So this was not 4K, which is weird that my computer is being so slow. You see the frame rate, push OK. And then say we wanted the white background, push OK. White, name it. It's going to show up here. I would move this to the graphics bin. Then I would move this white, drag and drop into my sequence. And there you go. Now you have white. You could go, if I wanted to dissolve into white, I would delete this. And then I would copy this right here, this cross dissolve, Command C, paste, Command V. And then this would dissolve into white. All right. Okay, if I were to move this a little further back, if I had more footage left, then the dissolve would be a little cleaner. So here we go. It's also not being very quick on my computer, but that's how you would dissolve into white. See there, it's dissolving into it. You could also move this white up and above. If you want to do more of like a, have your footage still moving and then dissolve into the white as it moves, you can go here, and then the footage will still be moving and it'll dissolve as it moves, just like so. I would line it up exactly with the footage. So you have the entire cross dissolve over the footage. Very clean transition. There's that. Okay, now to export, very simple. You select your in and out points. I would go to the beginning. This is the in of your export, so where your export starts. Tap I. Your out is going to be at the end. If you hold shift and then drag, it'll snap to the edge. If you don't hold shift, it won't snap. So shift, snap, tap O for out. That's going to be your out point. And then to export, you either use keyboard shortcut Command or Control M to export, or you can go File, Export Media. And this will export. I'll change the name to my project export 1. And then I would go back to my project. This is in my desktop, my project folder that we created. New folder, exports, and I would save it, and then I would click export, and that would show up there. If you clicked Q, that would send it to what's called Media Encoder, which allows you to export multiple files at once and keep editing while you're exporting. If I click export, I can't continue to edit while it's exporting. I would have to have it export through Media Encoder, which is a separate program, and then I could continue to edit on my computer if my computer has enough processing speed and processing power. Media Encoder is very helpful, but I would encourage you to use it wisely because it could really slow down your computer if your computer is not built for editing. So if I were to click export, it would export. I'm not going to do that because it might take a little bit, take a couple minutes. But that gives you an idea of how to export. Oh yeah, and also, as you're exporting, you don't need to worry about these settings for this project. If you want to Google and look into more of these settings and see what they mean and what they do, feel free. You can change the format of your video, the presets. You can change just about anything. It goes into very deep details. But don't worry about it. Just change the name, where you're saving, and then export. Make sure your in and out points are correct. Let me show you really quick an example of a project that I did for a client not too long ago. I'll give you an example of what a finished edit looks like and how I set up his file formatting. Okay, so this is a project I did for a client called Favor. They were a startup launching an app, and so they wanted an overview video of their app and what their app does. So we had our script here. Giving you a little example of what a script looks like real fast. So this is our concept. We're like, this is when we were brainstorming. We're like, what should we do? And then this is our first draft of the script. And then we have our draft 2. And then we have some ideas of how we wanted to change the draft and make it more appealing to the audience. Some ideas of style and what we would like. And then we have another draft edit. This is going more towards our final draft. And this is our draft with visuals included. Obviously, you don't need to do anything this intense for this project, but this gives you an example of what a script, how you create and follow a script. This VO is for voiceover. We had a voiceover created through Fiverr, which is if you ever use it, it's a remote work. You can basically get remote work online. So we had a voiceover created in Fiverr, did a really good job. You have your visuals, your transition, your voiceover, the different text, Here we go. So there's an example. This is just the full voiceover. An example of a script, just in case you have never seen a script before. Now we're going to go back here. I'm going to go into my Premiere Pro edit file. This is how I always organize my files. So in my project, what I would do before putting in the audio and the footage, I obviously didn't do this time because I took it from my source files, but I would have it inside my project folder as audio footage. So I would create a folder called audio and a folder called footage and a folder called graphics. I move these into my project, and then I would put all of my media in this folder so that Premiere Pro can always find it. So I always keep it together. So now I'm going to go into my edit file here for this client. I'm going to really quickly show you this. So all this footage is housed within this source file folder. So for this client, we included subtitles. We subtitled the whole project. Also included other text overlays. And then we also did a couple different versions of an edit. We did a 2-minute 16 and 1-minute 40. I'll show you our project, what it looks like here. Yeah, we had a 1-minute 40-second and 2-minute 16, and then we had our full edit. So we had to cover a couple different timings that he wanted to see what he liked best. This is all the footage that's been overlaid. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not that complex. It looks really complex, but you just add on to, you just start somewhere and then you keep adding, and you add and you add and you add and you edit and you add and you delete until you make your final project that you love. And that's all it takes. It takes a lot of creativity. Like, there are a lot of parts of this edit I didn't know how to do, and so I had to find out how to take an iPhone from online, move it into my edit, make it transparent, overlay footage. Let me get you an example. So what we were tasked with, we needed to take an iPhone from online, move it into our edit, and then we needed to take some footage that he had already had from his iPhone, which was a different size iPhone, and then edit it so it fit this iPhone, and then paste it on top of this iPhone, and then make it look like this iPhone was real. So you can see here, if this will play, he's using, yeah, it might be too glitchy to see this. Yeah, so you can kind of notice that he's using the app. I'll send you a link to this video if you want to watch it, just to see what this edit turned out to look like, going from this to export. We have our voiceover, we have our music. So yeah, so this is an example of what an edit would look like. Yours won't be anything, it probably won't be this complex. I mean, I hope it's not. This edit took about 30 or 40 hours to edit. So you shouldn't need to take that long on what you're doing. I think that should be it. If you have any other questions, Marco Polo us. I'll send out any Marco Polos if I think if there's anything I missed. But like I said, Google things, find out. If you have any questions, I would Google first, then Marco Polo, and I'll be sure to send out those keyboard shortcuts, and I'll send this video out if you want to see an example of what this edit would look like in video form. And yeah, good luck and have a ton of fun. Excited to see what you guys make.